Hey Motorheads, thank you for clicking on episode number 6, House Call with Doc Love on Race22.com. This episode will be connecting with Davin Scites, originally from Wayne, West Virginia. He moved to the Carolinas to further his short track racing career. Davin has raced the toughest tours and the toughest local action, winning races at the highest level in short track racing action, and has worked for some of the top-notch racing teams. Over the past 6 years or so, he has not been able to drive his own race cars as much as he wanted to, so Davin has left Rev Racing to offer driver coaching opportunities with his Davin Scites Motorsports brand. Davin has always been a do-it-yourselfer, hands-on kind of racer, and has built 2 brand new late model stock cars from the ground up, including the engine, so he knows every inch on those race cars. Davin tells us a lot of his work ethic, drive, and passion for racing was passed down from his father, Jack Scites, who was also a very tough wheelman back in his day. I asked Davin, do you remember much of your father's racing days?
Yeah, I remember back in his late 60s, early 70s, my dad, he raced the Sportsman, NASCAR Sportsman Series. And I remember more of his go-kart career, but I've seen so many pictures of the late model career that he had. The Lavalette Flash is what they called him. And, I look back and you had Richard Hill and a lot of these guys, picture of my sister on Richard Petty's lap. And, I look at that. And by the time I got up into age to start racing, he was already in go-karts then. He had been sold the cars and got into go-karts and was working more. And that's kind of what got me started, and I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know how soon. They didn't push me in it, but as soon as I got a hold of a go-kart, that was it. I was hooked.
And he raced the late model sportsman cars, the big old square cars with the tires hanging out. I mean, if you're around that, who wouldn't want to be a race car? I mean, those were some of the best racing days, in my opinion, man. That was such a wonderful scene before 82 and the late model stock cars were born. But, that had to have been a cool scene from what you can remember.
Yes, the pictures and stuff. I have 2 albums. I'll have to bring them and show them to you, but it's just, the albums and all just the way the cars looked. I mean, and you look at those cars they're cutting up for race cars, and you think back, man, y'all cut one of those up, 55 Chevy to race, and you look at that, and it was a neat era, and it really, I know he run Lonesome Pine and Ona Speedway, and got invited to go to Daytona, but he didn't go, so that would have been something cool too to see.
Yeah, they used to take those cars straight from the short tracks and run them on the big tracks at certain times and during that era. And not everybody went. You're right. So, but yeah, and then that graduated up, and when he raced the go-karts, and then when you got old enough to start doing that, when was the first time you started feeling, or when you got success racing in the go-karts? Did it take a while?
Yeah, it took a little bit. I never forget, I went to Glenn Cox had a track in Kentucky, and boy, I bought a go-kart, went over there, and Dad kind of, he's like, here's your cart, and you figure it out, so, and I had to figure it out, and I'm over there, and that thing's just screaming. I'm like, wow, this thing making a bunch of noise really ain't going nowhere. Well, I didn't know it, but I had the wrong gear in it, and it's a wonder I didn't blow that motor sky high. It was screaming down him straight away. So we had to fix the gear in that. And then it took, it seems like almost all my, once you have to figure it out yourself, you waste that year of learning curve. And that's where I look at kids today and things that's going on today. They're getting in cars that guys have already have that experience. This isn't going to happen because you've already had it happen, so you know how to fix it and keep it from happening. But I'll never forget, it seemed like about a year of karts, learning everything. We ended up buying a new go-kart, got an engine, went out, and we won a bunch of races all over, little dirt tracks all over Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia. And after that, I'd say we raced a couple of years in go-karts and winning races here and there. And it was time to move up, and Ona Speedway was still racing, and it's asphalt. And good friend of mine, Forrester Fry, still builds my motors and helps. So he says I build them, but he builds my motors or helps me with them, and still teaching me stuff today. And he said, let's go look at these legend cars. We went and looked at a legend car, and and we bought that thing, and my dad called it a pregnant go-kart. He said, no, son, you bought a pregnant go-kart. But boy, we went up to Ona Speedway, and I won my first race out. I was in the beginner class, and won the first race out, and he was hooked. It was like, what do we need? What do we need? We get scales, we got, and it brought him back to when he used to race there. I think it was a year racing at Ona with that legend car.
Now, how old was you when you graduated up to the legend car?
I was 18 then. I was right around 18 or 19, right in there, because I drove, even in the legend cars, I drove down, and Forrester had took a job with RCR, and but I ended up driving down and running the summer shootout and the nationals and all that. When I'd come down Tuesday night, stay at his house, drive back home to West Virginia the next day, and but it just always seemed like I was going to tell you my dad. So we won that first race out, and he said it was on then. He loved it. He enjoyed it. And the following year, he said, hey, I'm going to buy you a backup car. And I'm thinking, backup car? Whoa, this is going to be awesome. I'm thinking, this is weird, why is he buying me a backup car? And he said, yeah, when you don't run it, I'm going to run it some. I said, now I see what's going on. So we ended up racing together at Ona Speedway for a couple of years, and he came down the nationals and the shootout, and that was a good time, that we had, and I'm glad that we did that, because it was a fun family thing. Everybody go up there and race and just have a good time.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. And seeing you have that success really sound like it just brought back that competitive nature that still is, probably will always be, was with him, and it really excited him to see you have that competitive nature as well, and he just fired him up and wanted to give you everything it took for you to have success, and want to make him drive again. So that is really cool that you guys got to do that together, which I got to experience that, not as in the driving sense, but with my son doing the filming at Martinsville. Gosh, you're talking about a proud dad moment. I know what your dad felt when he saw you have success. So absolutely, that had to have been a huge proud dad moment to see you have success, and wanted to do whatever it took to continue that success from that moment on.
Yes, I'll never forget. We'd wreck a car or something. He said, well, I have to sell a couple cows, So he would he'd tease me about the cattle being a little thin around the house there. And but he was a big role in my racing career, and just being able to do this sport. And it just I think he missed this Martinsville race. I'm telling you, he's only missed, I could probably count on one hand how many races he's missed of mine.
Yeah.
And he's getting up in age, but luckily nowadays they've got the the TV, the downloads and all that, where he can still keep an eye on me and keep up with what I'm doing here now, and so that way he can still do that from West Virginia.
No, absolutely. Now, by moving up to the legend cars at 18, now I guess, going through school, middle school, and then high school with the go-karts, what was the rule? Did you have to keep your grades at a certain age, or no racing? Talk about that. What was the rules for racing for Davin Scites going through school and racing?
Well, for me, it was, school was kind of, I guess I never did let it drop that far. I was always.
Was you a good student?
I wasn't bad. I like math. Some other areas I wasn't much on, but I tried to keep them. I was I'd say an average student, but the biggest thing with us, as soon as, and like I graduated high school, I started went to Marshall University, but we had a family-owned sawmill. It had been my grandpa's, and My dad was running it then, and that was a big thing even in high school. I mean, even, my racing and everything, we had to take care of that because that's what helped, the racing.
That was priority
And,
number one,
so,
right?
I'm sorry?
That was priority number one?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, that was priority number one, and it, so I didn't hire nobody. It was all me full time. I had a bunch of great friends and people come over, and a good story. A friend of mine, he's a mortician, and they're in the area. And he come over one time, and he loved cars, and he's helped me. He helped me quite a bit. And we're putting an engine in and a car and stuff. He called me one evening and said, "Hey, I need some help." And I said, "What do you need help for?" And I'm like, "What in the world?" I said, "Okay, I'm on my way." And I run over there. And he's using an engine hoist. It's the same thing as an engine hoist to lift a body into a casket. And I had to help him do that. And I laugh. And even to this day, I think that's the funniest thing. Here he's helping me put engines in cars, and I'm helping put, other things, other play. So I was like, oh, my gosh. And we just had a good time. A bunch of good friends helped me. I never, like I said, we didn't hire nobody. It was always, we did it, I guess, the old school way, and I learned it myself. And that's where it kind of, I think my progression, it took me longer to get, it was always like that year or two of learning before, bang, we started hitting those top 10s, top 5s and winning races. So now I look back on it and I said, you dummy, you should have put somebody in your car that knew how to, that knew that the brakes were messed up, or before it took you half a season to figure that out. And those are the things I look back on and say, well, I wish I'd improved. But other than that, I mean, I enjoyed, the way I was brought up, and I know everything about these cars, and that's what, even down to building engines. And a lot of guys nowadays, I adjust my own valves and everything, and that's becoming it's some of these kids today, they just don't know that stuff. I love teaching them,
right.
But it's they want that driving and learning other areas of the car.
And you said something that caught my ear there. You said, I kind of wish I'd have put somebody in there to show me that. But now you appreciate that it may have taken you a little bit longer to learn that, but now you value the lessons learned.
Oh, gosh, yeah, very much. And I'll never forget at Concord. I'm running, it was our first year there, and I'm racing, and I'm getting close. We're getting top 10s, and, we're getting up there, and I'm like, man, if I could just get in this corner, like they're beating me in the corner. I can't go in as hard as they do. And the car was pretty good. And finally, I'm like, I just, you keep pushing it, and I'm like, this thing's all over the place when I get on these brakes. So we bought brand new calipers to put on the car, and I'm sitting there taking the fittings out and putting them in each caliper, and something caught my eye on one of the fittings, and I put it in. I put the next fitting in. I'm like, wait a minute. I pulled the fitting out, pulled all the fittings out, and looked at them. One fitting was different size, so that it was restricting. It had like a real small hole, like it didn't get drilled out all the way or something. So it was restricting. I think it was on the right front, so it was restricting the fluid. And I was fighting that. I didn't know it, and I was fighting that brake issue, the whole year. I'll never forget, I fixed that, and it was like night and day.
Wow.
It was like, oh, it was on then. Then we went from
small,
top 10 to top
minor
5,
difference. Wow.
Yes.
Made a huge difference in performance.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, just whenever when the car's comfortable, and, it's all them little things, and that's these guys. It's back when we were winning races. It's not cheating and oh, you've got the best of everything, and it don't matter. Everything's got to line up.
Yeah.
Everything, everybody's got to work together. Your tire guys got to work together with you, and you get them group of guys that just click. And I got guys from West Virginia that come down and help me now. Brian Lewis and Kim Atkins and Alan Rorick and Steve Cooper, all them guys. I mean, they just there's more than that even that help me. And I love having them come to the track. We know each other, and hey, if I tell them I need this, they know how to do it. And I've met kids along the way here from NASCAR Tech and being at different areas racing my ASA career, and it was in Indianapolis, and met people there. They called me and they knew I was down here and said, hey, a boy's going to the Technical Institute over here. He wants to help you some race or help somebody. And I said, well, send him over. I never forget, Junior Katsky, good old boy. He ended up, he went far in the sport. I mean, he did. He was a good worker, but that's the kind of people you meet, and that's the kind of people that help you to win races. It's everything's got to click to win those races.
And those guys that you mentioned from West Virginia that come down, you've been with those for a long time.
Long time. Basically, late models, I used to try to do it all myself, and it was a family deal. But when we started running ASA cars, we took the step, running late models, won some races at Concord, Caraway. We always went to Tri-County. I don't know if I ever won one at Tri-County or not. If not, we was close. But went to the beach and stuff, and we said let's take a next step, and it was either the old Hooters Pro Cup or ASA, and ASA had that new motor deal, and a good alternative as far as trying to keep costs down on the racing, and so we went with ASA. And you had Butch Miller, and all these guys, Mike Garvey and Kevin Sawinski, and I jumped in that. You talk about jumping into something. We jumped into something, and
you raced a lot between 2000, 2004. I think the only season you run full time was 2003. Got your win at Concord. I remember, man. We were so thrilled for you. But man, you were really in the thick of things when you did race throughout the 2002 through 2004. And man, we were really proud. We were real tickled for you when you was racing with those folks. But that was a highly competitive series. It had Gary Gary Saint-Amant and like I said, Butch Miller. Man, it had it was 20 guys that could win each race, and those were full-time short-track racers.
That's it. Yeah, I'll never forget winning Concord and all these big haulers, and and here I am in my little dolly and my little enclosed trailer, and here they all leave.
And they had that TV package on TNN at the time, and it was awesome.
Yep.
I loved it. I loved that series, and I got to cover it. The only race I got to cover live was when they went to Hickory. I got pictures of that one somewhere. Hopefully not in the dumpster, but that's another story for another day. But let's kind of move forward. But you did graduate from Marshall, didn't you?
I went 4 years to Marshall University, and I went for business management.
Right.
And in the fourth year of Marshall, I looked at Dad and I said, Dad, I'm racing. I'm tired of wasting your money, and I changed my major 2 times. I went for engineering and business management and, and this and that. And I just was racing. And finally I just told him, I said, listen, I'm not wasting your money anymore. So I went 4 years of college here and I can't decide what I want to do. I know what I want to do. And it ain't.
I hear you, Bluto. 6 years of college down the drain, just like Bluto on Animal House.
yes, and I just and that it was on from then. It was it like I said, ASA days, and then getting back into late models, and we did an ARCA race at Chicago.
And showed a lot of promise with that. No matter what you've been in, you've showed, and I think it came from the early days. You've always been competitive because any race car from the ground up, the tires touch the road first. So any race car is basically the same. You got a lot of mechanical work. Some of them are heavier than others. Some of them have more horsepower. But because of your learning from the beginning, the mechanics of the race cars from the ground up, and that comes from your early beginnings, and I think that's why you're always competitive no matter what you set in.
Yes, I think it's helped a lot. I look back at, you can go to tracks and it's like, I got to drive this like I used to drive that Legend car, It's no grip and a lot of horsepower, and then you go to other tracks and you're thinking, this is like, your go-kart days when it's, they're just planted to the racetrack. And it's funny. I still learn today. I'm learning, as things evolve and change, and I've got great people around me down here that's just helped me throughout my career, and like track records at Martinsville and all those. And we got Doug Howe's a good friend of mine, and just a his knowledge of a race car is unbelievable, and I'm trying to learn every bit I can off of him. It's because he's just it's amazing what he knows about a race car. And you think and I can build one from the ground up, and then he comes in here and, no, you need to do this, this, and this, and I'm like, do what? I said, I'm gonna try it. And I try it, and
like,
it got
wow.
to the point. I met him through Junior Motorsports,
right.
and it's the funny people you meet, and well, I met him before that, but anyway, he was over at Junior Motorsports, and I'd come in from racing, and I'd be like, man, this was doing this and this. He should try this. And I'd try it, and it'd get better, and I'm like, wow, and that's when he started really, he taught me and helped me build a car and his way, and I mean, it was we got great friendship now, and like I said, I can't learn enough off of him, and good guy down here, and man, so many people down here. It's hard to, it's hard to just put a finger on, all the people that's helped you. I mean, it's just still this day I got guys, everybody calling me up or you say, hey, you going racing? When you going? Let me know.
Yeah.
It's great to hear, so it's fun to get out and wheel these things again, for sure.
Oh, I know you were happy no matter what happened at Martinsville, and we'll get into that a little bit later. You still, the fenders were flapping or whatever, and you still had a smile on your face because I know you were just happy to just worry about racing again. So, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you mentioned Junior Motorsports. A lot of folks might not remember or have forgotten or might not know that you raced late models for Junior Motorsports when he kind of first started a late model stock team. And talk about that a little bit. Talk about that and how that transpired when you raced for the Junior Motorsports late model team.
Yeah, it started. Let's see. After
you and
ASA,
Richard Boswell kind of raced as a teammate, wasn't you?
Well, Boswell. Let's see. Yep, it was Richard Boswell. But I'd run ASA, and
right.
ASA had took a turn, and I said, I knew I was going to be down here in North Carolina. I just didn't know when, And so after ASA, I took a job in Indianapolis, and that was over with, and it was time ASA was going a different route, and I said, you know what? Here, it's time. So I moved to North Carolina. And when I moved down here, I got me a late model, and I had a few parts and motors and stuff, and started putting one together again. And I was in Bobby Gill's shop. Somebody said, hey, I needed a shop. I need a place to work on one. So they said, Bobby Gill's got a shop over there he's not using. I called him up, and he was just awesome. I mean, he was like, hey, yeah, no problem. Come on, And I said there news. I mean, he had a brake and a lathe and everything in his shop, a surface plate, and he was like, just take care of it. And I said, yes, sir. So he helped me when I first moved down. So I rented half of his shop and I got going, and ended up he was going to sell his stuff out. I'm like, oh no, now where am I going? So a friend of mine had a shop down Schimble Road, and I went there for a little while and ended up seeing Dale Jr. where it was at. He asked me what I was doing, and I told him, and he's like, won't you come over and put your car in my shop and help my guys out? And he had Richard Boswell and Scott Young, and I think I was the only two at the time, because Curtis, I think, was the next year. Curtis Truex, Martin Truex's brother? Cousin,
I think.
And so anyway, that's how that, he sent me out, and I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I thought, oh man, that'd be awesome, It wasn't the next week after he said that guy said, hey, I'm selling this, his shop was attached to two duplexes. I'm selling this duplex in the shop. He said, I need you out of here by the weekend. And I'm like, okay, So that's what I felt like. Everything I owned was on wheels. I mean, I rolled everything in my trailer, and I drove up to Dale Jr.'s house and parked that thing there. And I'll never forget, he was going to a race somewhere. It was that weekend. And he got back. It was Monday night, and we was all together. And he said, "Hey," "why is your stuff up there in the trailer?" I said, well, "I didn't want to unload it. You ain't even. I wanted to ask you before I unload this, make sure this is all right." He said, "Heck yeah, it's all right. Get that stuff out of there. Let's go."
Are you doing impersonation? So you sound just like him.
Oh, it was hilarious. I mean, I was just like, yeah. And that's what I've seen the behind the scenes at Dale Jr. and Kelly Earnhardt and all of that group just took me in, and that helped so much being down here and having a shop, and it turned out I was in his shop, and how much do I owe you? And you don't owe me nothing, And I mean, he helped me out. I mean, he helped so many people out that people don't even know. And I look back on that, and I raced 2 years in my own cars, and I kept bringing in trophies, and we go to Motor Mile and win or something, and he was like, man, he's like, it was the following year, had the champion spark plug. They said, hey, won't you just run for us? And I was like, well, I'd love to. And he's like, I'm going to buy your car, everything. You just run for us. And I was like, well, wait a minute now. If something happens, I still want my car. I won't be able to race, So I didn't want to sell everything, to him. And he said, well, that's cool. He said, well, how about we just, you do a sponsorship. You drive under my banner and use my sponsorship, and we'll give you so much to run. And I'm like, okay, yes. And that was I'm telling you, we ended up winning races at Motor Mile and the Mid-Atlantic Championship at Caraway. That was a 10,000 win race. And that was probably the first year I ever made money racing, because I had somebody helping me with getting there. And we had a good year, don't get me wrong. I mean, we didn't have engine failure. We didn't have, we were up front and didn't get wrecked and clipped and every week or what. So that was a year where I was like, oh man, I made a little bit of money this year. It was a big shocker. And, but I look back onto that, I see him around, and I'll talk to him every once in a while and still appreciate, what they did for me and helped me to get back on my feet down here in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you eventually moved on to Rev Racing, and but between the Junior Motorsports and Rev Racing, what did you do in between there?
Well, we ended up, I think, whenever the economy went down, and he Junior cut back on his late models, and said they were going to kind of take a step back because they got up to, I don't know, I want to say we had 4 or 5. Jamie Cottle was there in the shop helping them boys, and I was, and I mean, Jeff Cottle was there, and I mean, that late model was growing. I mean, he was helping so many people, and they stepped back, with the economy and stuff when it happened, and they stepped back, and we ended up, I said, no problem. I understood and thanked them, and like I said, I just had a great career there, and I ended up renting a shop over here by the drag strip, the Mooresville Mile, and got all my stuff in there. And I knew I was kept looking for a place to build a shop, and I went over to Eddie Sharp, I believe it was Will Gallagher. I helped him in a late model there for a little while, and it was right after that I helped him probably half of the season. And Jefferson Hodges called me from Rev Racing and said, hey, I need somebody to come and help me with these, help with the late model stuff. And I went and interviewed there, and he said, it sounded like the deal for me because he was a racer, and he knew I liked to race. And he said, hey, Friday, if you're going to do Friday, take it off, work on your car, and he still wanted me to race. But the problem was all my stuff was up here in the storage unit. and I was like, I moved out of that other shop, and I'm like, I got to find a place. I can't keep moving around. So we ended up, I found a house here in Mooresville and had a little bit of property with it, and got me a shop now, and I just feel it's not complete yet. I don't think it'll ever be, but I've got my race cars in here and the painted floor, so that just makes it where I can work on stuff, and
you got roots now. You finally got roots. You're not on wheels,
exactly. Right? Exactly. So
it wasn't long after that you did go to Rev Racing. Okay, so it wasn't that big gap.
It wasn't that long at all.
Okay.
It wasn't that long. I might have raced a couple. It might have been a year or two I've raced and helped people here and there.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then it was pretty quick. I went to Rev because I've been there already 6 years. So time flies.
I fell off the planet for about 10 years in the racing world. So I got to stay connected. I got to learn all this stuff again.
It happens. Time flies. I look back on stuff and I'm like, man, I can't believe it was that long ago. But yes, it happened quickly.
Yeah, it did. And then somewhere along the line, this little young lady got your attention. When did all this strike up here?
It did. We've been married. It'll be 9 years in October. Kelly Scites, she loved racing for one thing. She
Well, that's
loved
a
to go
plus.
racing, and that just that's all it took, you know. So we've enjoyed it. She's behind me more now. I mean, she's encouraged me to do more, and I'm like, man, I need a sponsor to go do this. You know, I've got 2 little kids I got to feed. You know, we got 3 and a 4-year-old, and I'm like, I can't take. You know, I got to find a sponsor before I can do this. And she's like, you know, we got a little bit of savings. Let's go do it. What are we waiting on? You know, and she's behind me. She's talking me into going to Myrtle Beach, maybe. I don't know. So we're working on that right now. And like I said, she's gave me the green light to go. And I'm still trying to find sponsorships because I want to make sure I feed these kids before this race comes.
Did y'all meet at a racing function or at a racetrack or?
We did not. We met at a Christmas party actually.
No.
And yeah, met at a Christmas party, and she's from this area here.
Okay.
And
she does know you're originally from West Virginia, right?
She does. And it worked out well.
Good.
All my West Virginia-ism that I spit out, she still laughs about it, but keeps her entertained, I think.
Well, I have not met her yet, so I'm looking forward to meeting her. Hopefully sometime. Hopefully I won't scare her to death. But
No.
but I love the pictures of the family. She's a beautiful beautiful wife. You got beautiful children, and I love to see the interaction and love the stories about going racing RC cars, and I just think that's so fun. And I love all the family activities on the social media. That's what makes life good. There's nothing like it. So just enjoy all of that. So it's good that the whole family gets involved. So let's talk about, I know everybody's been kind of waiting to hear about the departure from Rev Racing and what is Davin Scites wanting to do now. So with all, we talked about the in-depth learning and how you learned all the aspects and did it yourself, which a lot of folks haven't done in many, many years. That's old coots. That's how we did it. And that's the kind of lessons that these young people need to learn. So a driver coach like yourself, is that's what I understand that you're wanting to get into with the Davin Motorsports?
Yeah, that's what, I mean, I've done it, and I didn't know motorsports was going to take that direction, you know, and with the rentals and the leasing and the driver developments. And when I took the job with Rev, I was still trying to get my shop going and everything. And I knew, at that time it was out there. And I'm like, wow, I need to do that. But like I said, we finally took the job with Rev and really enjoyed Rev. I worked with some great kids there, and it was fun getting in the car and trying to explain to them, hey, you got to, get off the brake pedal. And I'll never forget one kid was racing, and I'm like, I was trying to teach him something about the racetrack, and it was a motor mile, and I was teaching him, and he was like, finally, halfway through the race, he said he figured it out. I'll never forget, after the race, he's like, I figured out what you was telling me. He said, I finally figured it out. He said, I know exactly. It's things like that when you can teach kids, how to, the learning curves that you done went through. So it helps them. And I jump in a race car and, the feelings that the race car's giving them, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You need to, it's not loose per se, or it's not tight. It's, you need to change your line. You need to touch this so that's what I've been doing at Rev and enjoyed it there, and really enjoyed all the kids we had there and the combines. We go to the combine. We'd have, I think it started out like 20 drivers the first 2-3 years. They've backed that up now. I don't think they take as many drivers, and we'd have to fit them in the cars and and send them out, and you'd try to coach them or help them, and we'd always get the cars set up for the kids before they got there. So it was very interesting how that process with the Drive for Diversity and stuff works, and I enjoyed it a lot, helping the kids. But it's tough as a racer to go to the racetrack and not get a race, and that's what it's like. It's like going to, you love, I don't know.
For me, it's like going to Martinsville and not eating
ice cream factory.
Yeah.
You got to work there, and you can't eat none of it. It's like, man, And so we would do a Martinsville, or I'd try to run 1 or 2 races. That's what Martinsville's been still trying to get that clock. And, it's been,
Yeah.
I enjoy that race. I love the competition there. I mean, it's 68 cars this year, and I love it. I mean, it's, and it's nervous as all get out. You're like, man, I got to make a show, but yet, you're running against some of the best there. And it's, I enjoy that race and the bigger races. So we always tried to race those. Martinsville, went to the beach or go to Kinley, Southern National, and race, and at least keep my feet wet in it. And but it's just tough. And we started, like I said, I had a 3 and a 4-year-old, and Kelly and I had kids, and so then it got even tougher, And with me traveling with the K&N races last year at Rev, the program there has changed. It got more late models and less K&N cars, and then the late models started going to each crew chief of a K&N car, and and the program changed here toward the end, and they're still developing in that program. And had Nick Sanchez. I had him last year. Was able to try to help him some, and he's a good little racer, and then they brought some more people in over there that has really upped that program and got some new cars and some Harrington motors, and it really boosted that program, and I was excited for him. Here I am. This year I was car chief on the 6 K&N car, and I knew there'd be more traveling, and I was like, I don't know, and I talked with Kelly, my wife, and I was like, listen, they want me to car chief this car, and I knew, I was like, I don't know, it's a lot more traveling. It ain't running over here to Hickory and racing Saturday and coming home. And sure enough, it just got to the point where I was like, listen, I want to race. I got my kids here that I want to see, more than 2 days a week, and then try to work on a race car too. And, we just decided, I thought, let's try it. I've got one car together, ran at Martinsville. I've got another one sitting here, bright, shiny, new white one. This frame sitting here, I'm getting ready to put together, and I'm going to try to lease some cars out, do some driver development, and see if I can't make a go of it from here and be able to race some myself as well. And that would be ideal, And if not, if nothing comes up, we'll get a job somewhere. I'm not worried about it, but it won't be weekends because I still want to race.
Yeah. Now, some of the tracks that you had raced at, Concord is closing. What kind of tracks are you be targeting? Motor Mile, maybe Hickory? I'd like to see you race at Hickory some.
I would like to race at Hickory. If somebody wanted, Hickory's really tough because I always look, and things I look at now is the payout. I mean,
Right.
You can't go buy a brand new set of tires and run for $600. The math ain't adding up there to me. I mean, so that's the only problem I got with running, some of these tracks. And now when they have their bigger races, I loved it. That's when I think you got to go over there and try to, and get to race at these places. Or if a tour comes in, and that's a good time to go race at those racetracks. And Motor Mile is always one of my favorites. It gives my guys that's kind of close to them for them,
Yeah.
so we can kind of meet in the middle. So that's a great place for me to race. But we'll go. I don't care where we go. We'll go wherever. There's a couple of tracks I haven't been to yet. I want to race Ace, and I want to race Orange County, and a few tracks that's still on my bucket list that I haven't been to.
Not this weekend. The weekend after, Ace has the Rodney Cook Classic. I think I'm scheduled to work that race for Tony Stevens, I think. So that'll be coming up. It's a good choice. Let's see. I was going to ask you about the tour, the Cars Tour races, South Boston, November 2nd. That's coming up. I was really hoping to see you. Didn't know if you'd be interested in that one. I was really hoping to see you maybe possibly have that on your radar.
Yeah, we kind of waited to see how it come out of Martinsville, and we gained on Martinsville. We gained on it a lot. And me, first time in the car this year. The tire. It seems like these tires change. I don't know. They change a little bit year to year. I've had them. I can do the same thing I did 10 years ago, and something's different. So
Yeah.
I feel like with the things I've learned at Martinsville, I can't wait to keep. Keep racing and just learning the little tricks of what I need to get me right up there in the front. I mean, we were okay, and then got better. The race cars got better, and qualifying wasn't bad. And I'm thinking, we picked up from practice, and it's just we definitely need to race more, and that's what I'm working for. It's hard just to show up. Like I said, first time out was Martinsville, so it was like, I didn't even get a shakedown in the car. It was Martinsville's practice, so it was. It was I ain't gonna say a tough weekend, but it was a fun weekend, but a very I learned a little bit. So now I've got Bradley Madison, BIM Consulting on my car, and have been a great sponsor and loves racing, enjoying every minute of it. So we're kind of just seeing what we're needing to do next. And like I said, I want to hit probably one more this year, but I've got to get these two cars prepared. I want them ready to roll for next year.
Now, Davin, looking ahead at next year, will you possibly looking for putting someone in your car next year and driving, or just driving next year, or working on someone else's car or in mentoring in someone else's shop?
Yeah, I'm kind of, right now I'm open. Definitely would like to get some people. I've got two cars sitting here. I want to have both of these cars ready to go for next year. And, definitely would like to get somebody in these cars to race. And I'm going to race some myself. And, so we can definitely learn more and teach some kids and just let them kind of teach them what I've learned in the past 30 years, So it's something I'm really looking forward to. The shop here I have now here in Mooresville, I'm open to taking care of somebody's car here, keeping it up for them, whatever they need. I know the job, what it takes. It's a full-time job to race these cars. It's very tough working somewhere and having to keep your race car up, or and the learning curve, to race these cars. I mean, you can anybody can buy a race car and take it to the racetrack, but you're going to learn, tires are going to build this much, or just little things you're going to learn. The learning curve can be cut down so much. So hoping to help somebody out next year and some driver development, or lease some cars out. We had actually had Derek Kell in a car this spring in one of my cars, and great little driver. I mean, he'd been running Hooters Pro Cup and stuff, and I was glad to have him in my car. We worked well together and went up to Motor Mile, and I jumped in the car and he jumped in it, and he hadn't been in a car in 10 years, he said, and he picked, it's like riding a bike. He picked right back up on it, but we worked good together, and went up there to the car store race, and he had a decent running in it. I mean, it was for what I was going to say we tested one time and went up there, and we out-qualified some of the other lease cars, and he was still learning. It was, the brakes were glowing red at the first of the race, and I'm like, uh-oh, this ain't good, and I'm like, he's using too much brake. But that stuff, that it's like me going and competing against Josh Berry this weekend. He's running all year long. He knows the tire pressures. Yeah. He knows, what his car's going to do after 100 laps.
The only thing missing for you and back to him is just seat time. That's the only thing that was missing, is constant seat time. And back to Derek, I spoke to him before that race. He said, "Man, I'm realistic." He said he's nervous. I just want to finish the race. I just want to run where the car's going to allow me to run. And he was running a good line. He was running a good race, and got caught up in somebody else's race in somebody else's mess. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and was doing pretty good. And you're right, though, them brakes were glowing red, weren't they?
They were from the get-go, and it worried me. And that's something you can't see during the day when you're there testing.
Right.
It's hard to see how much a person's using the brakes, or and stuff that you just don't. When I see it in the race, I'm like, oh no, no. We need to get this car freer, where he don't have to use that much brake to get the car to turn. So
and back to
things like that.
Yeah, and back to you, my friend. I would like to see anybody else that drives a late model. I don't care how long of a veteran has raced late models, take a brand new car to Martinsville, the biggest race of the year, without practice, without a lot of seat time, all year long, and see if they can make the race. What you did was crazy, my friend. What you did was crazy, but that shows the confidence, the skill, and the knowledge you have of a late model stock car. And that is what these kids can learn from you. I mean, the knowledge you have to teach these young drivers, and even a middle-aged driver, that if I'm a middle-aged driver and I want to learn about these race cars and take my program to the next step, man, I'd be calling you up.
That's what I hope so. I hope, I can't wait to get the opportunity to work with some people. And we've talked to a few people, drivers, and we've got some things working, but, nothing for sure yet.
Oh,
it's the same thing I've been doing for 6 years,
Yeah.
So,
and not only working on the cars and learning the nuances of the cars, but you can also teach them the tracks, because Motor Mile. I mean, how many laps you got around Motor Mile? You can really teach them the tracks and walk the tracks. With all the tracks that you've been with the Rev Racing. All the tracks there. You can show them the art of walking the track and learning the tracks. How many young racers have been taught that today?
It's I'll never forget. Yeah, it's you don't see it much,
Right.
And it's looking at that line and showing them, you can see stuff, as you're walking that track or right around it in our dually, you can see stuff that, and I can tell you on places on tracks where you can touch the apron and it'll help the car. You'll
Right.
touch the apron here, it's going to hurt the car. So
Right.
There's definitely a lot to learn, and it just takes laps, and it's you can figure it out on your own, but it's going to take a little bit, and I know I did it, so I know other people can figure it out, but it just takes a while. So we're very excited about next year, and hope we can help some drivers or get some people in our cars and be competitive.
All right, Dav. I know you got a lot of work to do. Got a naked race car. Got another race car. It needs a couple Band-Aids from Martinsville. Real quick, let's kind of give me your synopsis of Martinsville. You have been a staple of Martinsville. You had the single lap qualifying record for a bazillion years. It's been broken this past year. You had it for 10 years or something like that. So I know you was very proud of that. They broke it in the what they call it, the Euro qualifying last
Yes.
year or something or whatever.
Yes.
So, and that was cool too that they did that, tried that. The format had changed so many times. You've raced every format and done everything. You've sat on the pole. You've broken the record. You've won heat races. You started in the back. You finished top 5. Finished this. Finished that. You've done everything but won the clock. Bruh.
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to take for you to win that thing, my friend?
I don't know. And you got to be there. You got to be there and race
Yeah.
it. I know that's one thing. I've seen guys win it from 10th spot on the last lap.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I've been where we should have won it a couple of times, and it's something happens. It's out of your control. So I don't know what it's going to take. I'm still trying, and I don't know when I'm going to give up trying. I told Josh before this race, I'm friends with Josh Berry, and I told him, I said, listen, won't you just go ahead and get a rep of that clock? That way I'll quit chasing this stupid thing. But, I can't. I mean, I enjoy that race, and, I want to get up there and get competitive again. And like I said, I think we can get a few more laps under our belt during the season. I'm already looking forward to next year. We had a good car this year. It would have been up there. We ended up having a tire go down during one of the breaks. We elected to change it.
Gotcha.
And the official said we couldn't do that unless it's already flat. So we'll put our halfway tires on the left. So we ended up putting our left sides on, and we ran over time, so they penalized us, and so then we were a lap down, and then they told us we had to go do a stop and go, and it went downhill from there. But I thought, don't worry about it, guys. There'll be 100 wrecks. We'll get our laps back. I've seen it. I've done it before.
Yeah.
I had a sway bar arm drag off one time, and we ended up making I want to say it was 5 or 6 laps back up, and I was like, don't worry, we'll get our laps back. And, it was a different race this year. It ended, I think, it just didn't have the cautions we usually see there at the end. So we ended up, I thought, I'm no sense of getting up here in this mess and battling and tearing everything up and getting people's way when you're that many laps down. Now, as soon as I was on the lead lap, it had been a different story. It's time to go, and that was our plan, and it didn't work. And you know what? We'll try it again next year.
Oh, absolutely. And as always, you always had a grin on your face. You got the front end tore off in the heat race. You made the race, and we were just, Daniel and I were just going to stand to the side and kind of explain, what you were going through. You made the race and was working hard, and still you came over and gave me a word, which I really appreciated, but we didn't expect you to. But you were still smiling, so I know you were just tickled to be back in the race car again, and I was real thrilled for you. And I know that is your crown jewel. That's the love of your racing, and we know you enjoy being there, and we love to watch you there because you're so good there. And what you have to offer for a racer, man, I really hope someone does give you a call and give you a chance to share your knowledge and your teaching, because you've been a huge help to the folks at Rev Racing, to those drivers, or they wouldn't have contacted you and have you done that. So you did that for many years, and so now you're a free agent now, if you will, and really think that you have a lot to offer. Many years of racing on your own and racing with professional teams, and you can really be an asset to some of these younger teams out here in the racing community with late model stock to help grow some of these speed demons out here. So what's the best way for some of these youngsters and teams to get a hold of you, Davin?
They can message me on Facebook, Davin Scites on Facebook, or we can you can email me, Davin at davinscites.com. And I'm sure, if they know AR bodies or anybody in this racing community, I've been around for a while, so they can get a hold of me. I was trying to think any other way, but I'm sure somebody would be glad to give them my number or contact me on.
If anything is you see gleaming in the pits, it's just that Davin smile. So just follow the gleaming.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoyed this weekend. I can't wait to do it some more. Can't wait to race.
Hello? I must be going. I cannot stay.
Hey, we want to thank Davin for taking time out of his busy day working on those race cars to chat with us, and we are so excited to see him back behind the wheel of a race car once again, and we hope to see him back at the racetrack many more times in the very near future. Without question, he is going to be a fantastic driver coach for anyone wanting to take their race program to the next level. Thank you for clicking on race22.com and listening to House Call with Doc Love. Until next time, we'll see you at the races.
I must be going.